Techno update. Subscribe now.
Alienware's trademark angular design is on full display with this 17-inch gaming laptop. The gunmetal gray spaceship look hasn't changed much in the past few years. It's still aggressive and powerful, with its angles and two-tone mix of gray and black, but it's also classy and refined, with solid aluminum construction and soft touch plastic. Still, the look is starting to get a bit tired after so many years. The lid features the Alienware logo, and lifting it reveals a black, soft touch deck, a complete keyboard with a number pad and macro keys, a TVI tracking camera, and a 17.3-inch, 1080p display. But it's not a totally black and gray affair. The keyboard, touchpad, Alienware logo and light strips are on the sides of the deck and can be lit up with customizable RGBs. I preferred using solid colors, but you can change each light individually and choose some louder effects with Alien FX. When you're not gaming, you can get some serious work done on either Alienware 17 configuration we tested. First, I tried the lower-end model, which had a 2.8 GHz Intel Core i7-7700HQ CPU, 16 GB of RAM, a 128 GB SSD and a 1TB HDD. With that unit, I had 40 tabs open in Google Chrome, 2 of which were showing off Twitch streams at high quality and never saw a hint of lag. You can expect even better performance from the other model we reviewed, which has a 2.9 GHz Intel Core i7-7820HK, 16 GB of RAM, a 512 GB SSD and a 1TB HDD. The cheaper Alienware 17 and its NVIDIA GTX 1070 GPU with 8 GB of VRAM pack quite a performance punch, and the version with the GTX 1080 is even more powerful. With either configuration, you'll be able to play intense games at high settings, and even get buttery smooth VR performance. Using the GTX 1070 model, I played Mass Effect Andromeda on a mix of high and medium settings, and the game almost always ran at over 100 frames per second, and often as high as 160 FPS, both in combat and conversation scenes, albeit with occasional tearing and rendering issues. I cranked all the settings up as high as they could go, and the game stayed between 70 and 80 FPS while in conversations, fell to between 66 and 75 FPS while exploring, and dropped to 55 FPS during a heated battle. With the GTX 1080 model, I turned all of the graphics settings as high as they could go and played the game at 2560 by 1440p and 120 Hz, the best this system could offer. The game ran at up to 98 FPS during conversations, and was generally stable at 60 frames per second while exploring alien worlds. There were some drops to 50 FPS during cutscenes and a shootout with the alien kit, but it was all far above our playability threshold of 30 FPS. There was no tearing because of the G-Sync screen, and it looked nice and smooth at 120 Hz. On our benchmarks, the Alienware with the GTX 1070 GPU tended to fall a few frames behind competitors, all of which also use GTX 1070 GPUs. On Hitman at 1080p, Ultra settings and DirectX 12, it played at 89 FPS, higher than the desktop replacement average, 84 FPS, but below the $2,466 Aorus X7V6, 101 FPS, the $1,999 Dominator Pro, 94 FPS, and the $2,499 ROG G752VS, 91 FPS. The GTX 1080 model played the game at 110 FPS, which is slightly smoother than the Blade Pro's 103 FPS. The differences were less noticeable on Rise of the Tomb Raider, 1080p, very high settings. The Alienware with the GTX 1070 GPU rendered the game at 50 FPS, which is just below the average, 53 FPS, and also lower than the Aorus X7, 56 FPS, and the Dominator Pro, 51 FPS. The more expensive model ran this benchmark at 62 FPS, while the Blade Pro reached 65 FPS. Of the bunch, the Alienware got the best score on the Steam VR performance test, so you'll have no problem playing games that support an HTC Vive or Oculus Rift. It notched a 10.9 with a GTX 1070 GPU and an 11 with a GTX 1080 GPU. The average is 9.3, while the Aorus X7, ROG and Dominator Pro all scored between 10 and 11. The Blade Pro matched the more expensive Alienware, at 11.